Now on the docket tonight, as we check some legal cases you need to know about, I want to bring in our resident attorney first here, and then the assembly will be put on the spot here. And of course, the first thing, assembly is about political donations here. And on the money level, federal court lifted the limit on contributing to a political committee aimed at helping Joe Lhota become the next mayor of New York. Now, this is going to have a little impact, and maybe he won't lose by 40 points, he'll lose by 38. The point is, not a lot of time, but it will have a big impact in races going forward. Talk about why it's so important.
Oh, it's incredibly dangerous. It really is. It means that people like this guy who wants to fund the Lhota campaign, and from Alabama, by the way, I'm not sure why he's so interested, and he wants to change the rules federally. A person like him has unlimited ability to influence the independent expenditures. He doesn't want to give to my campaign if I'm running. He wants to fund his groups, and they can all weigh in on my behalf, and basically there's no limitation on how much he can give. I think it's, first place, it totally stacks the field for those with wealth. I think is a bad premise for our system. I don't believe there's a First Amendment right to unlimited wealth in these things. And secondly, I just have to say from a partisan point of view, for example, in the New York State Senate, this is a gift to the Senate Republicans, just a gift.
How much help can they actually provide if they're not giving it directly to you? If they're giving it to a PAC, does that really benefit you or whomever else?
Yes, because the PAC runs an independent expenditure.
And they are coordinated as much as people pretend
well,
they're not,
even if they're not coordinated, it's not very hard to figure out what my message is.
Yeah.
And if you want to be my friend, and you can run your independent
well,
PAC
this PAC is a test case because, as I understand it, was formed for the express purpose of supporting Lhota. It's been in existence for a week or two. So it's some kind of myth that this is some sort of general advocacy group. Yeah. It's formed for one express purpose.
For me, Dom, if people say, oh, this is a race for mayor, okay. Yeah. You can buy judges this way. I mean, it's a punchline, but it's really true. I think in many ways, this is where it really impacts. On more of the races that are under the public glare, you go to West Virginia, you want to get this one person elected because you want to have some mining thing or no OSHA protect. This is how you do it, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's exactly how you do it. More money in politics is not good for the American people.
Keep in mind, Rich, this is the same plaintiff that brought the Supreme Court case that was heard, earlier in the month.
We called it citizen
as we said,
same guy.
next election cycle,
carpetbagging.
This will have a huge impact. And by the way, that's when the midterms are. Okay, this case I talked about for a long, long time here, and it is what you probably best define as slow-moving justice or justice for a select few like the Kennedys, the other argument is. Lawyers for the Kennedy cousin, Michael Skakel, they filed a motion seeking his release from prison on bond while he awaits a new trial in the '75 slaying of neighbor Martha Moxley. You probably remember this case. Skakel's conviction set aside Wednesday by a Connecticut judge who ruled that Skakel's trial attorney failed to adequately represent him when he was found guilty in 2002. And Mark, I remember talking to Mickey Sherman. I know he liked the cameras, the then defense attorney for Mr. Skakel.
Tax cheat, too.
Okay, but there were so many questions with this that he was a kid when he allegedly did the crime, that he still is not acknowledged. But he was treated as an adult, even though he would have been in juvenile court if he did it. The evidence, I think, if I remember right, was questionable at the time. But to me, the weakest argument was that he didn't get proper legal representation. With the world watching, nobody made the point. Maybe they didn't think that he did a great job, but at the end of the day, that it was such poor counsel that he gets a retrial. The whole thing doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's a pretty unusual opinion because these kinds of motions are Crim Law 101, and I've read some of the papers. You have to understand, when you bring a motion like this, all other appellate remedies have already been exhausted. So you're years and years down the road. These are Hail Marys. It's very rare that it would be granted.
But this Hail Mary connected.
It did, but there's going to be an appeal. It seems like there was pretty compelling evidence against him, not overwhelming evidence, but pretty strong evidence. He did, from what I understand, pursue alibi defenses, pursue the theory that other parties were guilty, third parties were culpable for it.
Snitches that were part of this. The whole thing was just such a mess, and a lot of people were surprised that he was convicted with the evidence they had at the hand. It is just a case here with so much tragedy. But the idea that the kid who would have been in juvenile court, now because he's older and they bring in the case, then he was tried in adult court, I understand why, but anyway.
The final word hasn't been uttered on this. There'll be an appeal. Let's just hold on for a second.
Andrew, let's switch gears to casinos here because It's interesting, the Times weighed in with a piece today saying they are a no-go on adding more casinos.
Scathing opinion
And
again.
That's
they
a
ripped
good
it.
reason to support casinos, I gotta tell you that.
No, but the language on the ballot, we'll get into this now, but give everybody a quick reprisal here in terms
Well,
of...
the Cuomo administration wants to add up to 7 new casinos in upstate New York. They're trying to do it as a financial revitalization of the area. The Times absolutely hates the idea. Basically, it hurts the area. They say it hurts poor people more than it hurts anybody else. The other big flap is about the language. It's not just, hey, would you like more casinos? It's, hey, would you like more casinos because they'll benefit the economy and they're good for students and it makes sunshine happen.
Have you ever seen language on a ballot like this? Basically, did you like your family? Do you like the American way of democracy? Then vote yes for casinos. I'm exaggerating, but not by a lot.
But have you ever read the other constitutional amendments on the ballot? The fact is, we don't even read them very carefully. Everyone is exercised about this one. I strongly support it. It doesn't benefit.
Don't you think it would hurt Yonkers?
It doesn't benefit Yonkers Raceway now. Right. However, this is the opening of the door, and 7 years from now, Yonkers Raceway, Aqueduct, and the other downstate ones will have an opportunity to get in. Look, I was for getting Yonkers in sooner, but this was a compromise, and the governor was insistent that it be upstate to start. And
is it really about more choice for players or the freedom to do it, or is it free money for lawmakers without raising taxes? Is this a way of getting more revenue stream to Albany without having to jack up anybody's taxes?
Well, I hope it gets more revenue to Albany, and I hope we don't have a tax cut, as we've talked about before, to cut out money, because some of our districts like mine and the city of New York and other places need state money in order to operate their schools, and there are other programs that they absolutely need. So I hope it does give revenue. But I think overall, look, this is the governor's right about. We have gambling, we have casinos.
If I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote yes. But I do
I'm
think
glad,
I
because we
am.
need your
No,
vote.
I am. But Dominic, for me, the dirty little secret about this is the governor knows next year if he's going to follow through on his tax cut plan here and it's going to cut monies to cities like Yonkers, he better find some revenue, like Andrew said, to offset the losses. Otherwise, mayors in Yonkers and Rochester and a whole other bunch of other cities that are in hard times right now, they're going to be telling the governor where he can go in Albany.
I think for this governor, it's going to work out. It may be a little tough, but I think that he's going to be able to push his tax cuts.
Poll show is very divided right now. Almost split 50-50.
Yeah, but I would bet on this governor. I have a funny feeling he's going to pull it through. I really do.
It's 50-50 until you take the wording on the ballot into
But
account.
I don't understand why the wording is such a big deal.
Because,
you guys are so uptight about it.
But it
It's
is.
politics.
If it's just, hey, do you want more casinos?
Politics, guys.
Yeah, but if you say, do you want more casinos, it's about a 4-point advantage, yes. If you say,
Okay,
do you want new casinos with happiness and joy and sprinkles and Sundays and...
Isn't that more of a reason to do it exactly that way? To make it sound better? So that you can get it
I
passed?
don't remember, and the assembly wants to tell me I'm wrong, but I don't remember on the ballot, do you want person X, do you want person Y? Got it. Do you support X? Something that will bring revenue to the state and improve the New York State economy. It's the most leading question. I didn't think that's what a ballot was for.
But I'm just telling you, there's 7, I believe there's 7 constitutional referendums on the ballot this time. You haven't looked at them, any of them. You're lucky that you even...
4 of them are just upstate, so it's not really...
We still have to vote.
Well,
and
yeah.
so I'm just saying, we don't pay any attention. I agree with Dominic. We don't pay
But if
attention to language. Make
Does
it
the
in the
money
language.
ever trickle down from these casinos? I mean, that's the thing. Look
legend.
at Atlantic City, and they pointed this out in the Times piece. Everyone knows Atlantic City was in the dumps before, but it's arguably even worse now.
But can I just say something? Yonkers Raceway, the largest private employer in Yonkers, substantial revenue to the city of Yonkers and to the state of New York. And, look, I wanted this for Yonkers, but overall, this is good for these communities.
In the end, that's why I vote for it.
And there are
I say
decent
to anybody
jobs.
on the fence, take a trip up to the Catskills, take a trip up to some of the other areas, look around, see the boarded up shops. It may not be perfect, but there's not a better alternative out there. And I know it's imperfect, but all right.
Well, do they want it there? Do those communities?
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
They
Yes.
do. Because
I mean, we used to go to the Concord Hotel when I was a kid, and they've been clamoring this, as far as I understand, for 20 years.
I literally, for 20 years, have been covering this issue up in the valley.
Coming.
It shouldn't go to the
When we
Congress.
come back,
Mitch, stay away
Dominic
from
had a fascinating conversation at the table. Listen to me about 2 people exonerated for crimes they never committed. But what happens next for them? Just as interesting. Stay with us. Be right back.